The Moto G 5G is a well-executed phone that sits right in the middle of the budget and mid-range range. It has excellent battery life, smooth performance with a Dimensity 700 5G chipset, and a ton of built-in storage. Available starting now at most major retailers for $400. The Moto G 5G sits more firmly on the low end of the mid-tier space, and that can be a dangerous place for a smartphone to be. Budget phones in the $200 price range have obvious trade-offs that most budget smartphone buyers can live with. But for twice that price, how many corners can be cut? As far as the looks go, all of Motorola's current design conventions are on full display. While some things like the matte plastic shell, headphone jack, and thick body are exclusive to more affordable phones from the company, you'd be hard-pressed to pick the Moto G 5G out from a lineup of other G-series phones. The back has a Motorola logo in the middle, and a camera bump with 3 vertically aligned lenses and text, identifying the 50-megapixel main shooter. The right side has the volume rocker just above the power button with an integrated fingerprint reader. While Google is putting a fingerprint sensor onto the screen of the upcoming Pixel 6a, the integrated fingerprint reader in the power button is at least fast and consistently gets good reads. The bottom has the charger port, as well as the headphone jack and the single speaker. One of the most important parts of any smartphone is the display. I find it hard to parse this category for the G5G, because you'll see some high praise for the display technology in the next section. However, the 6.5-inch, 1600 by 720 pixel display just looks soft and washy to my eyes. From browsing content to taking photos, I struggled the entire time to really feel excited to interact with this panel, even at peak brightness settings. This is probably the biggest drawback to this phone, because the device's day-to-day experience lives and dies by the screen through which you interact with that device. It isn't the worst display I've used, to be fair, and will work fine for most average users, but if you want something bright, vibrant, and crisp, you won't find it here. Now, just because the processor doesn't offer a focus on image handling, doesn't mean that this phone is slow. Part of that snappiness is thanks to the screen's refresh rate, which I'll get into in a later section. But the Dimensity 700 punches well at exactly this mid-tier performance level. Benchmarks put the processing right on par with other Dimensity phones I've tried, like the Blue F91, and it chewed through basic everyday tasks with tremendous ease. It does show its roughness when trying to do some light gaming, but all in all, I'm going to call the processor here a win. The Moto G 5G checks a lot of boxes, and I don't mean that in an exemplary sense. Motorola took the time to figure out the bar that needed to be cleared and just barely sailed over it. Take the camera system for instance. On paper, the main 50-megapixel f1.8 camera system should deliver exceptional shots, while the 12.5-megapixel ultra-wide and the 2-megapixel macro setup should keep up. However, because you aren't getting world-class processing on this phone like in with an Apple or Google device, things felt mostly just fine, though your mileage may vary. By far the best aspect of this phone is its battery life. Because the display isn't pushing an insanely bright or dense pixel array, it manages to conserve power extraordinarily well. That is thanks in part to the 5000 mAh battery under the hood. Motorola promises that you'll get up to 2 days of battery life on the phone, and while that is optimistic, I was routinely getting 36 hours of reliable use before charging. If the most you're willing to spend is $400, this is a great option. With Motorola's promise of 3 years of support, 256 gigs of storage, and solid 5G support, this phone should serve you well for a few years. Although, we still think new phones should have longer update lifespans than this. If you have the extra $50 to spend, you'd probably be much happier with something along the lines of a Samsung A53, Pixel 5a, or the Pixel 6a, if you can wait for that to come out. Those phones all offer better cameras and longer update support for the added expense, although the Moto G 5G is still a great device for the money. If you are interested in the Moto G 5G, now may be the time to purchase. Motorola is dropping the price to $350 for a limited time. How limited, we cannot say, but don't drag your feet, it's a steal at that price. I hope this video was useful for you. If so, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day and see you soon.